ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the kamikaze?
What to do, jive turkeys, and welcome back to the Controversy. I'm your host, Dean Elliott-Carter, and today I'm just gonna address it. There's a huge elephant in the room, and no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump's fat ass. I'm going to talk about what's going on right now in the world. Right now, we are going through a change where it comes to injustice, where it comes to changing the way things, the process of how things are done. And yeah, this isn't a new thing. You know, a lot of people have recently just been confused about hashtags of Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter and somebody taking a knee and police brutality. And it seems like majority of people are starting to get it now, which I'm very proud. I'm very proud. There's some people that still just don't get, what do you mean all Black lives? What about my life? You know, there's still people that are still confused about all this, which is fine. And I get it. You know, if you don't have your foot in the other shoe, it might be a confusing thing to you. I genuinely understand. So I don't want to come across hateful or bully my point of view on things, because we all have different points of life, and somebody else has a certain truth than you do. So I'm going to give you my point of view when it comes to change, defeating a broken system, racism, police brutality. I'm going to give you all my recommendations for movies that I feel that you should watch, so maybe you can get a better point of view if you're not living that type of life, of some things that people go through all the time. Granted, some of these are true stories, some of these are made up stories, but they are all based on true events and things that people have to go through daily. My first one is based off a true story. It is straight out of Compton. Crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. From the gang called Neighbors with Attitude. That's right, straight out of Compton, which is based off of the group NWA. This is a story about freedom of speech and the things that they had to go through in their personal neighborhoods in Compton, some of the systemic racism that they had to go through, some of the police brutality. Not only does it show you a lens of the unfair treatment that police do with some of the less fortunate African Americans, but it also shows you that you should never shut up if you have a voice to be told, and if you have a story that people need to hear. No matter how shocking and explicit it is, it's art at the end of the day. The next movie on my list is Blindspotting. Blindspotting is another movie that takes place in California. It's in modern times though. This one's from some of the minds that brought you the Hamilton soundtrack and play and stuff like that. But this is more of an urban story of recent police brutality, and it's told through the lens of hip-hop. It's told through the lens of the urban ways. And it shows you not only just the environment that they are in, but just the life of somebody that has previously gotten in trouble, and he's trying to do better with his life. But at the same time, man, things just keep happening. It seems like, you know, we can't catch a break. And I love that they showed the story not only with great storytelling, but with hip-hop elements as well. And you guys know, if you follow me, I love my movies and I love my hip-hop. So Blindspotting is definitely a recommendation. Fruitvale Station, man. If you were to tell me that Fruitvale Station was an event that came out yesterday, it's believable. The movie, I think came out in 2014. Yeah, 2013 or 14. And it was based off an actual event that happened in a train over there in LA. A lot of these stories take place in LA. Should show you about their justice system over there. This was about an unarmed man that got shot out of the subway after a fight, and yeah, it was a very horrific story. One of the movies that actually put me to tears. Ryan Coogler's first movie, and Michael B. Jordan showed that he has great acting chops. This is a movie about, you know, capturing police brutality on camera. So this is very relatable to things going on right now. So yeah, Fruitvale Station. Miracle at St. Anne. This is a World War II movie about the Buffalo Soldiers, which the Buffalo Soldiers were black soldiers that were deployed for World War II, but it was more of an experiment. I'm not going to get into what the Buffalo Soldiers were, but like, this is a very underrated movie, and it shows like these guys were fighting for our country, but they still weren't appreciated as Americans when they were here in America. You know, it doesn't matter how hard they work, they're still taking the back seat to other people. And I thought it was a very, very good movie, very underrated movie. If you like World War II movies, I definitely recommend Miracle at St. Anne. V for Vendetta, man, this is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. This one is a story about overthrowing the government and changing, you know, the laws. It's honestly, if you've ever seen this movie, it's kind of like the story of Jesus, kind of like they crucified this man and he came back. But yeah, he had these ideas, and he says all the time, ideas are bulletproof. He literally had to burn down the system and influenced a massive crowd. Sounding a little familiar right now. He influenced a lot of people to say F it, and they all came together, marched, and overthrew the government, you know, said F the police, and there was change in their society, in their government, due to his ideology. Right? Things had to change because it was not good. And V for Vendetta is a very good movie. The Hate U Give, another relatable thing to what's going on. This is based off of a book. It's a story about a young black man being shot by the police. He was filmed, and it just shows the repercussions, like the PTSD of the person that was actually there, how they had to deal with it. Like, you know, it was a very uncomfortable time in her life. She was living one life, but she also had this life at home, and it was very, you know, kind of relatable. I've never seen somebody die by the hands of the police, except of course on the internet or on television, but like, you know, it's relatable, like, you know, having to live both lives to some types of groups that don't get it, you know. And I love The Hate U Give, and it just shows, like, at the end of the movie, it showed a lot, like, man, I've had enough, this is it, you know. This girl is just fed up, and she's just so young to be going through all this at this age. And a lot of young black people go through a lot of trauma at a young age when it comes to systemic racism and police brutality, and it sucks, and it's coming from her lens. So yeah, The Hate U Give. Detroit. I only saw Detroit once. A lot of these movies I saw multiple times, but I only saw Detroit once. It's a very long movie, but it's based, I believe, in the 60s or 70s, and it's about a situation where there was a murder from police in a hotel, and they were trying to plant some evidence on some black folks, and it was very sketchy, and it's something that happens a lot right now, where people, where these police have the authority to manipulate the system in their favor, and they can get arrested and not do the time that they need to get. You know, some of them might get paid leave, or some of them might get, you know, a slap on the wrist, and it just shows, like, this is a broken system. It's a movie based in the 60s and 70s, but again, something that's going on today as well. Selma's based off of the Selma Walk from Martin Luther King over there in Alabama, Selma, Alabama. And Martin Luther King was a man about change. You know, a lot of people like to quote him, as they should. He was a very peaceful man. And his methods, you know, sometimes they work. This was a case where it did work. You know, he was a very peaceful man. He wanted to make sure people turned the other cheek. He had a lot of Gandhi and Jesus teachings, and eventually things worked. He had to go through a lot of these processes. His friends and family and people that were following him for the change got their butts beat all the time. They got sprayed. They got chased by dogs. All that crap. He had multiple meetings with the presidents. You know, it's crazy. You know. One thing when I say a lot when it comes to these times, when I say like a quote like Black Lives Matter, or like something like, hey, let's take a knee to be peaceful, it's just weird that that's a debatable thing. Like equality and justice for all is just a controversial subject. So to me, that's kind of parallel to what Martin Luther King saying, hey, we should all live together in harmony, with black, brown, and everybody of all race should be able to do whatever they want together. And someone back then was like, nah, son, that ain't gonna work for me. You know, it just blows my mind, you know, just the psychology of people. But yeah, Selma, and that was a very different fight back then, but there's some of those aspects again we're fighting today, man. You know, it's the methods he took got televised so the world could see how blacks were being treated. So yeah, I definitely recommend Selma. Monsters and Men was a independent film that I think was one of those Sundance movies. It's actually starring Denzel Washington's son, and he plays a cop, and this was also a Hispanic kids in the movie as well. It just shows a parallel of the police lives and some of the urban kids' life, which this one, in my opinion, does show a great mirror of, like, there's some suffering and and hard things going on in the police lives as well. Being a police officer is not an easy job. As much as I want to definitely point out the bad apples and show you, like, listen, we need to change in the system, there's good cops there as well, and they have to deal with these bad cops giving them a bad reputation. And, you know, it showed good parallel of that, and also this kid's life in the city as well, having to deal with police brutality. So yeah, I definitely recommend Monsters and Men. Black Klansmen. Black Klansmen was another one by Denzel Washington's son, and this is my second one on the list that was directed by Spike Lee. Now, this is more of his recent one, where he was pretending to be in the Klan because he put on that white voice. He put on that proper voice. And he, on the phone the whole time, was catfishing the Klan, pretending, you know, he wanted to be a member. And just like that, because they're not the smartest people if you're racist or a Klansman, let him in. And he infiltrated the whole system and pretty much put all their information for the FBI. But this one was another fight because this was a good cop trying to expose a racist organization. But at the same time, some of this racist organization had ties to some of these police officers. Again, something that happens today in 2020. You know, it's just people helping each other out. You know, people got each other's back. These are gangs, quote unquote, because that's what it is. I have some honorable mentions right here. The Joker is another one that's like kind of like V from Vendetta, where it's an uprise, people coming together for the change. Not, you know, that was more for an evil thing. That's why I put on an honorable mention. Joker's not really the best. He's not really the best influence, but I will say he did influence people, kind of like what's going on right now. The Matrix is a good example of things that are like, you know how there's a lot of smartphones out there and internet and stuff like that. The Matrix, to me, relates to what's going on right now because we're kind of ran by social media, and we are being on this assembly line of fake news at times. And we get these articles and these videos and we're not seeing the full context of it, and we're making our decisions based off of our tribe and, you know, what we follow. And I feel like the Matrix definitely relates to that right now when it comes to everything going on, because when people are picking their sides, they're living in this box, and we shouldn't have to pick our side when it comes to right and wrong. We should just, you know, live in a logical world and see it for what it is. And some of us are living in the Matrix. Definitely recommend Matrix, not 2 and 3 though, just the first one. And Cloud Atlas, which is one of the most underrated movies of all time. Cloud Atlas is basically a long movie with multiple stories about changing the system, defying the system. Every story had something that had something to do with, hey, this is what it is, but I am going to defy it. I don't care what the rule is, I'm going to do what's right. And it had multiple stories about that. I put this on the recommendation list because we are defying the system sometimes. Right now we are defying the system. And the many are definitely going to outnumber the few when it comes to changing the system the more we work together. Whether we're black, white, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Asian, gay, straight, woman, man, dog, cat, we're all got to come together, you know, if we're going to make sure people are treated equally. These are my recommendations for movies that relate to what's going on right now. Did I miss any? I'm going to be seeing Just Mercy pretty soon and doing a review on that, so look out for that. But listen, if you like this video, please leave a comment and give me a recommendation if any of these relate to that. If you like this video, please subscribe. Help keep a brother off the streets. Love, peace, and chicken grease.